Good afternoon. So now officially we can launch our Circularity Gap report for Poland. And as you see on the movie, Poland economy is circular in 10.2%, which is better than world average, which is 8.6. But still, I think we shouldn't be happy because there is like almost more than 90% gap, which we have to fill. So the result also is surprising for us, for Poles, because it's much better than Nordic countries, for example. But again, there is many scenarios in the report which we can implement to really make our country circular, and I think we are in the best starting point at the moment. And we are here to tell you a little bit more about the report, about the numbers. We are here with the experts, with our partners from Norway, because the report was made in partnership with Norwegian colleagues, Norwegian brothers and sisters, circular brothers and sisters, and the Dutch analytic foundation organization, Circle Economy, and it was funded by EEA Norway Grants. So besides, we have experts from Poland, which will comment on the result. We have Professor Joanna Kulczycka from Polish Academy of Science. We have Professor Krzysztof Pikoń from Silesian Technical University. We have Ewelina Szczech-Pietkiewicz from Warsaw School of Economics. And we have business representative, Anna Sapota from Tomra, Norwegian company, which also tried to make the world a better place. And my Norwegian colleagues, Einar Holte Kloppe.
Holte, that's fine.
Yes, I always mix your names. Katrin Barth, and our guest from Holland, this time from Amsterdam, Circle Economy, Carlos Pablo Singuenza. So first, let's deep dive into the results, and the floor I give to Carlos, who made this analysis, and he knows best the report. So please, show us more a bit.
Thank you, Agnieszka. Okay, thank you so much for being here. I am very, very happy to present you the Circularity Gap report for Poland. And as you will hear, like the world is only 8.6% circular, and Poland scores actually higher than the world average with 10.2, just like we see here. But there is more to circularity than this 10.2%. There is nearly 90% that has to be improved. That represents a huge opportunity for the country to develop new solutions, and of course it's a challenge. But next to the 10.2% circular, I would like to break down for you the almost 90% that is not circular, because even if this 10.2% is higher than the above average, it's not perfect, but it's also not too bad. So let's see why. The national economy of Poland, we took an X-ray with our analysis, with all the data that we were provided, with the models, etc. And here we have a snapshot of the economy of Poland. This is a simplified version of what you will see in the report. And here you can see the different materials that flow through the economy of Poland, from what is extracted within the country, what is extracted abroad in other countries and imported into Poland, but also what is exported from Poland to other nations to provide for different necessities and needs. So we can see here the biomass that was used in the country, the minerals that were extracted and used, the metals, the ores, and of course the fossil fuels. All these materials have the objective to provide for different necessities in the population of Poland: nutrition, manufactured goods, services of communication, mobility, transport with our cars, etc., healthcare, other services, and of course, these materials give us shelter in the form of housing and infrastructure. In general, the results show that Poland has a material footprint and need of more than 600 million tons. Of these 600 million tons, more than half is stored in what we call stocks. These are the materials that take the form of products that we that are stored in Poland for the long term in the form of buildings, for instance, vehicles, infrastructure, roads, even our toaster in our houses. But also a big part of these materials are actually lost to the environment, lost to the atmosphere. Maybe they were put in landfills, maybe they were incinerated, and so on and so forth. And from all these millions of tons of materials, we measured that Poland actually cycled and recycled and integrated it back into their economy, about 95 million tons of materials. Here we have a breakdown of the almost 90% that is actually not circular. So as I mentioned before, one part of it is added to reserves and stocks. In green, the green arch that you see here is actually what we call the ecological cycling potential, which is 13.8%. And this represents the part of the bioeconomy that could have been used in a circular way. But unfortunately, in this case of Poland, that wasn't possible in the year that we assessed here. In orange, we have 20.7% of non-renewable inputs. And these are the materials that were used mostly for energy use and that have actually a fossil origin, for example, coal, oil, gas, etc. And lastly, we have an 18.7% of non-renewable, non-circular inputs, which are the materials that could have been recycled, but that were not. And that gives Poland a score of 10.2% circular and still a circularity gap of 89.8%. So how do we use these insights to drive action? And this is one of the objectives that we wanted to put in the report, because it's a starting point after we have measured this current state of the country here. So let's look at what we did in the report, because we explored some solutions, and we tried to adapt, and we tried to model and design a new circular system for Poland for the future. In the report, you will see 6 different types of scenarios, and one of them is actually what happens if Poland builds a more circular built environment. That means more circular buildings, buildings that include recycled waste from older buildings, and they are used to produce new ones. What happens if we refurbish these buildings to make them more energy efficient? What happens if, for example, we actually use less energy in our houses for heating during the winter, or less air conditioning during the summer? We also modeled different actions and strategies to make Poland a more sustainable, more circular food system from the agriculture, probably using less fertilizer. We explored how this system would be with less fertilizer from mineral sources, using more organic fertilizer instead, but also changes in our lifestyle. For instance, what if we actually save food? What if we waste less food? Not only in our houses, but also in the industries, in the food manufacturing sectors, for example. And we also included a new vision of the transport in Poland. What if people actually use more bicycles, use more electric cars? What if they use more public transport systems, and so that they rely less on mobility by car? Also, working from homes is also mentioned in the report, because then we wouldn't need to move so often and so long to go to work, for example. The other 3 scenarios that we have here, and these are also part of the circular economy framework, and we call one of them champion circular manufacturing. So this scenario talks about how cutting material losses in industrial processes, like metallurgical processes, for example. What happens if we reduce all these materials, we cut all the losses, and we keep making products in a very efficient way. But also, it's not only the losses, but in scenario 5, for example, we modeled different numbers so that we can represent what happens when we keep the products for longer. we keep them like new. And that is one of the values of the circular economy, because the circular economy also tries to maintain the products and the materials at the highest value possible. So the newer and in the better state that we keep our products, then it has more value, and also they would last for longer, for example, through maintenance and repair, and also acquiring good quality products. And these are actions that can be taken at home, but they can also be taken by the industries, for example, in the form of machinery and capital equipment. And lastly, and this is something we are very proud of, like the whole team, that we included energy scenarios for Poland. Because, of course, for Poland, fossil fuels, coal specifically, we know that it's very important, a very important source of energy for the country, for all the industries and for homes. So, and of course it comes with a high carbon and material footprint. So what if Poland moved a little bit faster, a little bit deeper into renewable energies, and we explore these scenarios? And before the next slide, in the report, you will see maybe 30, maybe more actions that can be taken in all these areas. And if they are implemented alone, they have probably a very small contribution to the metric of circularity, material footprints, and carbon footprints. But if they are put all together in all these areas, then we can get to some much better results. When we put these all scenarios together, we can cut the material footprints of Poland by 40%. So instead of the nearly 600 million tons of materials, of which 500 million tons, 517, would be virgin materials, we can reduce the footprint 40% to only 300 million tons of materials. The carbon footprint in consecutive effect would be cut by half, which is great. And the circularity metric can virtually double from 10.2% to 19.9%. So I think that's almost, that's basically double the metric. And to make all these changes happen in the country needs to make synergies at different levels to convince the citizens. Citizens can also take part in it, of the whole transformation. Also the companies, associations, industrial associations, the government, different regions within Poland, and expanding over and over. So the countries also need to talk between each other and collaborate, because circularity is a matter of system thinking. It's not only one variable that makes anything circular. So it's a system. So actually, these systems can be transborder, can cross borders. In the report, you will see a spotlight chapter about the potential collaboration between Poland and Norway. And you will also see how these two countries actually have problems that are common for both of them. They have different challenges. So sometimes they have the same challenges, but they also approach all these challenges with different solutions, which can provide an example for each of the countries. And so probably it's for you a surprise that Poland is 10.2% circular, higher than the world average. And in comparison, Norway is about 2.4% circular, that makes Poland to be like 4 times more circular than Norway. So why is that? And we can see here in this table, for example, it's not only the circularity metric, but also the material footprint that plays an important role in the metric. For example, Poland has a material footprint of 13.8 tons per capita, while Norway has a 44.3. And thanks to our partners in Innowo and Natural Estate in Poland and in Norway, we could explore all these potential technologies and solutions for different areas of both economies. And they have to do with housing, with zero-emission buildings, using different construction materials for the buildings. Instead of using so much concrete or steel, they can be substituted by bio-based materials such as wood or other composites. Also, energy is an area that is tackled by both countries in a different way. But they also have, these two countries have some solutions to the same system, but from different angles. For instance, in Norway, electrification of vehicles is a big thing, is going very fast, and also the recycling of batteries. So Poland is also, at the same time, an important manufacturer of batteries. Therefore, what if these two countries make a cross-border circular system for the future? Lastly, we explore these other two areas on both sides of, let's say, of the sea between Poland and Norway. And some of the examples that we have in the report have to do with the aquaculture in Norway, that part of the exports actually go to Poland, and then the fish is consumed in Poland. And there can be something probably done about the waste of food. But at the same time, Poland has a very strong agricultural industry and culture. So what are other things that these countries can share and learn about it? At the same time, Poland has a strong tradition of building furniture, high-quality furniture. And in other countries like Norway, fast furniture is something that is still there, that can be that is not very circular, actually. So there are many opportunities of collaboration here, and that is actually one of the questions that we would like to bring forward with this report. This report is about the starting point, mapping what the situation is, and make a picture of how Poland can go forward. And that would be it for me. And I'm very, very happy and very proud and very honored to present to you the Circularity Gap for Poland.
So the future is circular, and Poland must become circular. I think Europe must become circular and beyond. And as you said, it's all about cooperation. So my Norwegian partners, how do you see our cooperation? And do you want to cooperate further?
Yes.
Good.
Of course. This has been a very interesting project. It's been going on for a long time. This isn't done in a day to make this report. So almost a year now, or almost exactly a year, since the conversation of collaborating on this started, with a very unique kind of start point of you two, Catherine and Agnieszka, meeting here at Circular Week last year and discussing with the Norwegian Embassy about the EEA grants support funding, if we could use some of that to actually share knowledge from what we did in Norway in 2018-19 when we got our report. When we are talking about these factors, you know, it's very interesting to collaborate on kind of transferring experience on this subject and working with Circle Economy together with you guys as our very dear Polish and local partners here, leading here. This is a Polish gap report, circular gap report, and it really has to be, and it's really interesting. But to have the comparison has been really fun. And when we hear about 10.2, congratulations, Agnieszka.
Thank you. We are proud.
You should be proud. It was an amazing number. I was not so surprised because I know how the Norwegian market culture was set. I did never expect that you would be worse than us. We have a massive overconsumption. 2.4 is very low, but we have started the journey of transitioning. We have the longest way to go. Maybe we have the biggest work to do. So there's some learnings and some nice experiences there that we can share with you now in the process that comes. But 10.2 is, of course, too low. The whole world is too low. 8.6 is very low. So, but there's a massive potential in those 90% we have now disclosed that we can collaborate on. And the fact that we can kind of test out how the circular economic value chains are non-national. It is international collaboration. Value chains cross borders. And that is very interesting to look in that special chapter of our collaborative effort and our bilateral work. And I'm very much looking forward to continue this, because this was just the start. Now we have an indication, and now we need to figure out how to really transition all those value chains that link our two markets together. The Norwegian or the Nordic and the Polish is very strongly linked. And if you can be the provider of anything for us that make us more circular, and if we can be the provider for you that make you more circular, we become more circular together. And that was the goal. And I think we have a lot to do. So for me, this is an amazing honor and joy to sit here and see this result, and to have been part of this collaborative coalition with a lot of you that is here, and get to know you and the Polish market culture in this way has been fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes. So on that note, I think you want to take the
Catherine?
step further, Catherine?
I think this has been a fantastic learning journey. I think I am not surprised about the number. It is really above the global average. And as far as we've come to know each other and see and learn that every country and every market has its own unique identity starting point. So it's not so easy to compare, but still we need a common language. Yeah. So it has really been a breakthrough to see, can we really put together two circular market strategies and see, can we merge them? And I also think that we need to get some of the theoretical talk down and become more practical. We are in the year 2022. It's one of the most important years in history, between 2015 and 2030. And you asked in the beginning of the film, what needs to stop? So now we know a little bit more what to stop and what do you really want to start. We know from every day that the Polish economy is very important for a multiple economy. You have a huge export market, and if we could test and see what is unique here, it's a huge market, 36 million people, and with a huge manufacturing industry, which I think will be the most important and relevant transition. So I really think we experience how integrated we are, and thank you so much for learning so much and see where we can head from here.
Thank you. As well, thank you for this collaboration. So maybe ask Polish expert, Professor Kulczycka. Actually, a year ago, World Bank approached us and we prepared for them report. And actually the first intervention and recommendation was to measure and prepare circularity gap report for Poland. They didn't publish this report yet. They're going to publish this, I think, this month. So already our recommendation is fulfilled, the first one. So and also you are working, deeply in these indicators. It's also like your really big expertise, circular. Indicators. So could you elaborate, how we can measure circularity, how you find our, number for Polish circularity?
Absolutely, it's good that first of all we have this report in English, so everybody can know it well. So that's the good point. The second, that Poland is really in the center of interest. So as a World Bank is working with us on circular economy, and the report will be soon available about different intervention. So we were looking for the challenge, we were looking for the barriers, we were looking for how to advise what to do with circular economy. So that's the good point. But you absolutely asked about the indicators. And the indicators, it's something which was for me one of the most difficult, because first of all, we should look more holistic. Yeah, that's what we could see, what you also measured. You measure the circularity report from the very beginning, from the raw material. Yeah, when we look at the biomass, when we look at the raw materials, metal raw materials, energy raw materials, and others. So we have to then converse all the consumption from the very beginning. So it helps us to look holistic. And then we have the gap report based on this. And the same on the indicators. We can measure, we have to understand what circular economy is the first. The first is about prevention, yeah? When we're talking about lower consumption, but on the other side, we're talking about lower consumption with a higher quality. We would like to have high quality material, durability material. The material which we really would like to have is if it's from waste, or if it's from even regenerative biological materials, but we would like to have something which is good quality. So how to measure it? Yeah? How to measure it? So many aspects, different aspects. We also discussed today that the circular economy should focus on economy. So we should not only include the indicators which are based on materials, but also about the economic viability, feasibility. So, again, but we don't want to have hundreds indicators. Yeah? We don't want to have hundreds indicators. We'd like to have one, like this one, you calculate it, 10.2, which is nice. So it's really true that we propose a set of indicators, not so many, the indicators for Poland, which we can calculate. We cooperate with ministry, and some indicators are already implemented in the strategy of productivity. So they are, of course, based on material consumption, which is easily available for Poland, but it's not easily available for region. Yeah? So when we would like to go down to the meso or to the micro level, it's not so easy. So next challenge to do, yeah? to see the indicators for different region. And also something which is very important, as I mentioned, the socio-economic aspect in circular economy. So how many jobs we can create, how we can move from the consumption to more to service. Yeah, which is also something what we can what could be needed, because it's sometimes that we don't need to have the things, but we can utilize them. That's one of the points of circular economy. So fortunately, we can propose some indicators. It's open for the discussion, but I hope we can measure some how the economy can change with the circular economy with the report. I'm hoping we can continue this, not only 1 year, yeah, because you can do it in next year maybe, yeah. We hope so, and then we can use also our indicators. So let's measure.
Thank you very much. And also, like the first question up here, how much it costs, yes, the transformation. And Professor Pikon today, because we had a meeting at Parliament, we was finally get there and try to educate a little bit our parliamentarians. So actually, Professor Pikon said that it must be economically effective, efficient, yes, it must bring profits. But do you think is it feasible?
Well, it's a very good question. And honestly, I do not know the answer. For sure, we know the direction. We should go in that direction because we do not have another choice. If you look at macro indicators, the world population is booming. The consumption of different raw materials is going up. And resources, world resources are limited. So we are not asking whether or not the linear economy could survive somehow, but when it will fail. So we do not have other choice. But of course, it is a circular economy, so it is an economic term. Previously, we are accustomed that ecological inventions are costly, so it is on a cost side. What is really nice in circular economy is that it should generate revenue. So it's something really, really good for the future. So if we would like to preserve our economic growth, if we would like to be wealthier than we are now, if we would like to be wealthier in the future, next generation, for next generations, we should implement circular economy. And this is something that is obvious. And what should be also underlined, this circular economy is very holistic. So it is not just the waste management system. This is not just the production. This is the whole life cycle. So firstly, we should start with proper design. We should start with proper design of different things in order to close all loops that could appear afterwards. So, we are very happy that this result is better than world average. But we must understand that this is just an opening report. This is the first report that was created. So, it is a measure of a current state. What we should do, we should try to find a way to implement circular solutions in different areas on different levels in order to make this report even better in next year or in 10 years or in 100 years, let's hope. So it was a really pleasure to contribute to this report, and I think that is a good opening for the future.
Thank you very much. And of course, as you said about this green solution, when everyone perceived them as more expensive, it's first of all a matter of scale. And the second, old solutions, unsustainable solution, have hidden costs, which we not calculated. But we have this health cost, environment cost, but we have to pay for them, but, in longer term perspective. And it should be converted, yes? That's why, we should change it immediately.
Well, when we are talking about circular economy, we used to say that this is a change of way of thinking. So we should change our perspective, how we are looking at different things.
Absolutely.
The questions that I have asked today, do I really need a car? Do I really need a car? Do I need to possess a car? No, and the answer is no.
Yeah.
I need to move from the point A to point B. And
maybe even don't.
This is my
maybe
need.
you even don't move. We had this lecture about the paradigm of mobility, that maybe people stop be mobile. But that's very kind
actually, the COVID situation showed that this frequent travel is not really needed.
Exactly. See, so even I had to ask ourselves if we do really travel. I love travel.
What is important to look at the future. Not as a problem, but as a challenge. So we must somehow face this challenge, and maybe it will be a better future.
Absolutely, and it's fascinating. And it's, as I said, mind change, yeah, I think. So, Professor Szczech-Pietkiewicz, you are mainly dealing with the cities on an everyday basis. So how the circular cities, should look like in your perspective?
Thank you for that question, and that's really good. You're bringing a new actor to that table. We've talked about companies and how can companies contribute to the circular economy. We've had a lot of talk about the regulators and how regulators can contribute to the circular economy, and but also cities have a great role to play. Usually when we think about cities, we think about them as part of the problem for the environmental or social issues. So we think about the smog, about the noise pollution. We think about the social problems that are part of the urban life. But I would like to change that narrative and look at the cities as part of the not as part of the problem, but see that as our solution for the circularity. And I'm really glad also to see the scenarios in our report and the industries in the report that were pointed to as the most beneficial, maybe, or having the greatest potential for Polish economy, with the mobility, with the built environment. This is basically all happening in cities. So this is where the potential for closing that gap, for closing that 90% gap lays. And so cities might be a very valid actor in finding the solution. And however, a lot has been said about the systematic change, about the holistic approach here, and also cities are working on different sort of systems. So here is why also cities are so-called natural environment for circularity, and their role is inevitable in that process. However, when we think about the solutions for cities, our first what comes to our mind first may be the waste management and maybe recycling in cities. but we should actually look a little broader, a little further when it comes to how we manage cities in order to change them into circular cities. So maybe look into some other ideas, like business models that are employed, like procurement that is given by the cities to include some of the circular criteria in the procurement, in digitalization and the access to urban city data, for example, not only collecting the data but also making use of the data that cities have and having access and making them accessible. So there is a lot of ways that cities can participate in circular economy. It's a must that cities participate in the circular economy. After all, about 80% of GDP is created in cities, and if circular economy is still an economy, so that's where the economy is created. So that's a must that cities undertake some strategies, circular strategies. But my message would be to look beyond just the waste management, beyond the recycling issue. Recycling is, of course, one of the strategies, but probably not the most, not the only, and not even the most effective strategy to close that 90% gap. And cities might look into their business models, into the context they create for the circular economy.
Thank you very much. And we have also business representative, and I invite you here in purpose. First of all, because you're representing Norwegian company, and we are talking here about the bilateral cooperation. So it's a great example of such cooperation. And also because you actually provide a tool to close the loop, yes? Yeah. And you really try hard to implement it on Polish market, facing all the time some kind of struggle. So tell us, what is the barriers, and how you see really like circular economy development in Poland?
Yes. So yes, being the representative of the business, I'm definitely more interested in the remaining 90% to close the loop that the 10 which we already got, and this is where the potential is and where we are looking for it. So from my perspective, it is the question of having the opportunity to close the loop in many fields. I'm representing the company who's working mainly in waste management, but also in food business, food industry, and we can see how much resources we can either retrieve or we can put again into loop if we manage properly the systems. And of course, our approach, for example, is to go into holistic way, and we were also having a look at waste management systems. We are having the data of, World Bank saying that there will be, now we are having around 1 billion ton, 1 billion, 1 trillion? What is farther? I don't know. Sorry. Tons of waste, a lot, and it will double by 2030, right? And when we will discuss to look for the solutions, we should concentrate also on the solutions which we already have, right? So when we are discussing the things which we have in waste management, like selected collection, like deposit return scheme, like mixed waste sorting, these are the things which are working, for example, in Norway. We are taking these examples and we see how they can close the loop, for example, for plastics, which is always a big topic, right? And of course, plastic is only a small piece of all the stream, but I have also this feeling that if we won't start from the things which we already know, and we know how to get get rid of the problem, we will never have time to go for a bit more, difficult topics. And unfortunately, as discussed today morning, in many cases, we need the intervention of legislator. And this unfortunate example you brought up today morning, being the roadmap towards circular economy in Poland, which is, honestly speaking, dead document. And I have the feeling that the reality, what is going on and what we are doing, it's only business cooperation. It's only this bottom-up approach when the companies, municipalities, universities are trying to work on the topic to do something more. And this is what I see. And it brought me to the question which I wanted to ask to people who have been working on this circularity gap reports. In other countries, was it an impulse to change something? The publication of the report, telling that you have 2.4%, or even Netherlands yesterday said 25. It's still enormous, number which is not circular. So, did it change something?
So please, first, I don't know, Einar and Katrin, yes?
On this, from the outside, I was a spectator of the process in Norway. Katrin was involved in the Circular Gap Report of Norway. And as a spectator, seeing this from the outside, as a business owner, yes. And it really changed something. It changed the whole discussion. Of course, 2.4 was a shock to Norway, because we have TUMRA. We are recycling. We are doing deposit return scheme, as it's called in pantesystem, as we say in Norwegian.
Okay.
And we have the electrification of cars. We have a very strong collaboration between private and public on these very local and practical matters. So we had we were kind of thinking that, of course, we would be flying high. But it's not true. We have a massive overconsumption, and we have the oil industry, and we have all of these major exploitative structures that is the base of our economy. So it was a shock. This discussion completely changed. Okay. And this value of awareness and the discussion afterwards is the reason we wanted to be involved in this project with you and you guys. If we could contribute in a report that can create the same level of awareness in the market, and kind of help the discussion. Like we've been having today, we've been having it in the parliament, we've been having it at the Scandinavian Chamber of Commerce. It's been already a lot of dynamics of the potentials that they're seeing. So I really believe that these reports are very valuable because they set the discussion at the right place. And before I hand it over to Katrin to go more into it on Norwegian level, I also want to say that I was truly impressed with the Polish gap report. But what I was truly impressed of was also to see what we could learn from you. How your local economic resilient systems, how your local food production, how your VAT system supports local fresh produce, things we don't have in our economy at all. Okay. And how that, and that is the beauty about circular economy, is that it's extremely practical. It's really kind of, when you bring it down, to the local society. It's very practical and concrete. It's natural resource management in society and the market system for our human needs of life, right? And if we can rebalance the balance between nature and human through the market and societal systems with rethinking value, rethinking structures, rethinking our systems, and kind of understanding that circular economy is key to sustainability, and it's also practical, concrete, and very valuable, you really get a more positive discussion about what is possible, the 90% that can be closed, right? So yes, it changed a lot, and we have experience with that now, almost 4 years or 3 years now, and that is also what we hope to contribute further with
Katrin, I think, because we have to speed up a little bit.
I'm a keen fan of learning. We are heading a time where nobody really knows the answer. So how can we fast forward learning and learning together? And the very first gap report, I love your question. And that was Austria, and I did the same as you. What did Austria learn? And it was very insightful. They said they actually not so much the number, but they got a debate in Austria that they had for 4 decades investing what they thought would be a beautiful waste management system. So for almost 50 years, they actually lost their time to actually design and go ahead and open for circularity. So and that was like, then you can discuss this without nobody having to do the blame game. And in Norway, we were about the same situation. It were like, how much can you sort? How much can you collect? But nobody wanted to go out to the collection and waste room and talk about how can we change things. So it was all about numbers. How can we increase the sorting to 25%, 35%, but not really measuring what's going into the economy. And I love these reports. They're colorful. You don't have to be a scientist. I love scientists, so everybody can actually engage from their point of view. You are a textile dealer, you're a shoe manufacturer, you're a car dealer. Everybody has its own opportunity to join in and find their own place in the economic system. And this is maybe what was very key learning. This gave the opportunity to walk out of this like fighting room, who is like sorting most, but we could find a peaceful place to actually discuss, wow, it's embarrassing about 2.4. We also learned we don't produce anything in Norway, so if we want to fix our circularity, we really have to start working with those we trade and manufacture with, and this is actually the opportunity for us also now to see it's a learning system in a way also.
And if I may, one more thing just to add. Does it mean that now, for example, you would expect that the number is different than 2.4 for Norway?
Yes.
That it went up?
This was just launched at the cliff of COVID. So I think a lot of us hope that maybe COVID made it possible for us to approach the future faster than it would without COVID, because COVID showed us how vulnerable we are to supply chains, how exposed we are to geopolitical risks, and also what we see in the last year, complex climate issues. But this is a mix. So what we see now out of COVID, I don't think you will have very much different in Norway from the number. But this is also why we really have to collaborate across our trading borders and production borders, because I don't think anyone can fix this within their own market at all.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I can add something. You mentioned the awareness and the factor of awareness that the reports are creating, and that's probably one of the greatest aftermath of such reports. I understand the numbers are very important, but they can change, hopefully only going up. But the change of the awareness, and that what I would expect from the Polish Circularity Gap report would be also the change of awareness of business to looking to circular economy as an opportunity, as a profit-building opportunity. The change of the awareness that circularity is not just some obligation, it's not just some ecological activists' notion, but mainly this is a way of getting new resources, getting cheaper resources for your company, and changing that paradigm from linear, when we produce waste, into that new paradigm of using the waste as our resources. So I would expect from our report to change the awareness in this sort, not only the awareness seen as education of general society, but mainly as the education or new paradigms for business sector to look at the circular at the economy in a new model, not like value chains, but more like value circles, basically. So that's what I really hope for.
A very short comment on the awareness, because we, in Natural State, we work with trying to understand what the economic consequence of awareness is. And what is important is that we are talking about the awareness in the market and the society. And that drives radical change in value proposition. So when the market becomes aware, we people become aware of consequence of our actions and our usage and our consume, we start to behave differently. And this is happening. This is happening quicker and quicker. And these major factors that you were mentioning, the war, the COVID, climate, the market in itself is moving fast. So its business life is taking lead.
But mainly among young people or all?
More and more all. But the younger generation is by far more aware. And if you are not and as we said, circular economy is the key to sustainability and deliver a sustainable value proposition in the market. If you don't do this, you will be out of the market within very few years. You will not get funding, you will not get insurance, you will not get customers, and that is key, right? And this is why the system is changing now because of this deep awareness. And this helps awareness, it guides the direction of the discussion. And as you said, this is a number. The important part is which direction the next number is going to.
Yeah, and it's like we're just about to finish, so I just let you think a little bit because I want you, each of you, give like a takeaway message, maybe to our decision makers, what you want to tell them in the 1-2 sentence, and one question to Carlos, because you presented to us like, so many scenarios. So where to start? From which scenario we should start? Put it on the tape, the one which we have to start with.
Yeah, it sounds. I heard a similar question before today. So where to start? I think in the report there are plenty of strategies and actions that can be taken and started actually today. Everybody at home could go back at home and start separating their waste, starting from home, using less energy at home, for instance, using the bicycle tomorrow instead of the car. There are actions that can be taken immediately. But of course, from a broader perspective, then we have to focus on those areas and human necessities that need to be fulfilled, but that also have a greater impact in the economy, whether it's a material footprint, whether it's a carbon footprint, or a circularity, or an impact in circularity. So we have to focus also on the big things, not only what we can do tomorrow or today when we go home.
Thank you, Carlos. So now, just start from Evelina, just one takeaway message, just short, smooth, and sweet.
Maybe it won't be that sweet because my message would be that one of the most effective strategies as far as circularity is actually to decrease the consumption and consume whatever we have as long as possible and preserve the value as long as possible. So it may, as simple as it sounds, it may require some really severe changes because they're changes to lifestyle, and those are the hardest. So I'm not sure that's a sweet message.
I would like to be optimistic. I think that this is not about restriction of consumption. We should consume as much as is needed. We should not waste. And this is really important. And the sweet message at the end, for sure it is challenging. The future is challenging, but we should not be afraid of this future. If we implement circular economy, we could still develop, we could fulfill all our needs, and the development of the civilization will continue.
Thank you. Anya?
Yes, so I would say that first of all, we need to remember, and I'm very happy that it was said so many times here, that circular economy is about economy. So this is the business opportunity which is behind, and we as business have to grab this opportunity and use it. Which leads me to the second part of my message: we should grab the low-hanging fruits, the solutions which we know, the things which we know that will work and help us to either close the loop of resources or waste less, etc., etc. Like in my field, or not only in my field, the discussion on eco design, right? Something which we are aware it's there. We just need to start doing it. So this is my message.
Very good.
So I'm also more optimistic. So I think we can find win-win situation, and the circular economy will be very close to our well-being. And we look at the circular economy both as a new eco-innovation solution, but also a circular business model. There is a big potential in creating the business model, cooperation, industrial symbiosis, regeneration, virtualization, a lot of opportunity, not necessary to have really a lot of money for invest, but just to think.
I think I will go for the action point number 4, which is become excellent in circular manufacturing. Polish economy is huge in manufacturing, and very many markets are depending on the imports from this what's produced here. Now Europe is really seeing a time where we risk a resource dependency on so many levels. So also start working with critical raw materials, starting with urban mining, and see actually to you call it eco-design, but really make the circular manufacturing as default would be really also joining the material revolution we will see in the time ahead. I think this is the perfect spot to start this.
I have to support that 100%. Poland can take position as the quality producer of all of Europe, the near quality producer. You can shorten the supply chains. It is really a strong position to take. If Poland orients and champions circular manufacturing and production, it can help the rest of Europe also obtain more circularity. So it's an excellent point. It's an excellent positive position. For your regulators, start with massive circular and sustainable procurement programs. Help the market start their circular and sustainable business by buying from the big buying muscle of public spending. So procurement programs for public spending with sustainable and circular rules and regulations on it. That would really kickstart the whole element. So I think that's a few very big positives that you can take out of this, and you should really look into the potential here. It's massive.
So from my opinion, we should stop afraid of collaboration, which we are so afraid in Poland that, we always have this feeling that someone wants to take away something from us. And on different levels, yes, I think we should start from ministries, they should start cooperate and collaborate. This is the key, because we can't achieve anything. An industrial symbiosis in circular economy, it's based on cooperation and partnership, yes? So that's the key. Maybe stop be a little bit too cautious and, go for it. So thank you very much. I hope that you read our report carefully. There is many more to learn and many more data, information in our report. They're on our webpage, Innowo, CGR webpage. So we will still also promote it during the Circular Week, because we are in the middle of Circular Week, actually, where it's a lot of going on around circularity. And on Friday, it is International Mazovia Circular Congress with a lot of international speakers, international experts and thinkers, which can share their perspective, their knowledge. So really warmly invite you to register, be with us in Warsaw, or just watch and follow us online. And thank you for today, and nice reading of the report. This is what I wish you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.